If you've been told that SIBO is just bacteria in the small intestine and your doctor handed you antibiotics or antifungals and said that'll fix it, this video is for you. Welcome back. It's Liz Roman, aka the Poop Queen, and we're going to talk all things SIBO today, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So the truth is, SIBO is not just about bacteria. There is a reason why bacteria is allowed to overgrow in that small intestine. And this is a much broader problem. It's a terrain problem. So we think about the entire microbiome from your nose to tail, and we're going to talk about liver and gallbladder because SIBO is really a bile issue. If your bile isn't flowing, your stomach acid is weak, your gut lining is inflamed, or your nervous system is fried, no amount of killing bacteria and bugs is going to keep it from coming back. Because again, you've not addressed the broad picture here and the root causes of why SIBO is allowed to grow. That bacteria is allowed to grow in the small intestine. So let's talk about the three types of SIBO first, how they show up, why bile is so important, and the missing link that nobody's talking about. So we know that SIBO happens when bacteria that belong in your large intestine sneak into your small intestine where they start fermenting way too early and take residence there. This fermentation causes all kinds of symptoms: bloating, gas, pain, fatigue, that food baby that a lot of people talk about after they eat, just always kind of feeling full and bloated. But the real question is, why is this allowed to happen in the first place? So when we think about digestion, we think north to south, okay? And so digestion really starts in the brain. You have your mechanical digestion with your teeth in the mouth. You also have saliva there that has digestive enzymes. And then when food enters into the stomach, it's really important that we have adequate levels of stomach acid. This will neutralize any pathogens, bacteria, parasites we're exposed to, but it also helps not only signal other chemical reactions for your pancreas to release pancreatic enzymes, liver, gallbladder to release bile, it also is really important to help you properly break down, digest, and absorb your food, which should be happening in that small intestine. So if we have low stomach acid, food doesn't fully break down, it sits in that small intestine and it ferments. You feel backed up, bloated, and gassy. And poor bile flow is really crucial here as well because this is your built-in detergent. So it should circulate through that small intestine 15 to 17 times every time you eat and help keep that bacteria in check, allowing you to absorb nutrients and not the bacteria. When the bacteria start absorbing nutrients, that's when they grow, they thrive. Bile is also responsible for stimulating motility, your motility hormone, signaling insulin from the pancreas, getting rid of toxins, cholesterol, hormones, really, really important. So it's that built-in detergent. And when bile is sluggish or insufficient, we end up in a case with SIBO or SIFO, small intestinal fungal overgrowth. And then again, to top it off, the icing on the cake here, the cherry on top, is that sluggish motility. So that just means that food is sitting and fermenting. And when waste stalls, bacteria throw a party. And again, it makes you feel miserable. So not all SIBO is the same. We've got three main types. We've got your hydrogen SIBO. So this is producing hydrogen gas. You'll see bloating, diarrhea, anxiety. A lot of times this comes with urgency and I have to find the bathroom right now kind of SIBO. Then we have methane SIBO, which is actually an archaea, not a bacteria, but this is an archaea produce methanogens using hydrogen, and this slows down your gut motility. This results in chronic constipation for many people, and it's very hard to get things moving. So it's really important to throw the kitchen sink at that constipation and make sure that you've got prokinetics, laxatives, stimulant laxatives, all the things to keep things moving. And a lot of times when we experience gas buildup, gas bubbles in the gut, that is often associated with methane SIBO. And then we have hydrogen SIBO, and a big telltale indicator here is it's going to be that rotten egg smelling gas that also comes with other things like fatigue, brain fog, sulfur sensitivity. And this one is pretty sneaky and often missed. And it's not actually a sulfur sensitivity. A lot of times it's the issue. It's the lack of being able to transform it into sulfites. And so that's another thing that we focus on in our practice, because this, if somebody has done all of the protocols for SIBO, this is a key to unlocking their lifelong healing. And that is something that we will look at based upon testing and symptoms and then address accordingly to help with the sulfur issue. So this is where most people miss the mark. As I mentioned before, they think that SIBO is just, an antibiotic, or let's take some antifungals, uh, you know, herbals, and it's all going to be good. But it's a bigger issue with digestion, detox, and bile flow. So again, if your bile is not properly flowing, you're backed up, you're bloated, you're gassy, fat and toxins don't get broken down, things recirculate, pathogens don't get cleared, and your liver starts getting inflamed, right? Because it's recycling waste instead of removing it. And so low bile flow is low detox. And when this waste builds up, that's really when bacteria thrive. And so maybe your gallbladder has been removed. We know that people who've had the gallbladder removal are a higher risk of SIBO. Maybe you've been on birth control, antibiotics, acids or acid blockers, proton pump inhibitors. Maybe you've just lived in a high state of stress. Cortisol literally shuts down bile flow. Maybe you're estrogen dominant and hormones are all out of whack. That's going to make your bile more peanut butter like instead of fluid. And so, this is really why you cannot antibiotic, anti herbal your way out of SIBO. You've got to go and restore the terrain. So, here's the FitMom approach. The practice that I run helps women virtually all over the world break the SIBO cycle. I talk a lot more about these in my SIBO blueprint, so you can grab a copy. The link is in the show notes here, but there's 5 main things that I want to cover today. And number 1 is support stomach acid. Again, digestion is north to south. This could be starting with bitters or betaine HCl. Also important to look at pancreatic function and digestive enzymes as well. Number 2, we definitely want to get that bile flowing fluidly. Open the drains here. Things like TUDCA, ox bile, taurine, choline, dandelion tea can all be very, very helpful. Even things like NAC or glutathione, depending upon the person. Number 3, on healing the gut lining, supporting the mucosal layer. So things like immunoglobulins, zinc carnosine, L-glutamine if you don't have the GA1 gene SNP. Be cautious if you do, because that can turn into glutamate, your kind of go, go, go brain chemical, and that can leave you anxious and tired and wired. But other soothing herbs can be very helpful here, such as slippery elm as well. Number 4, we've got to really focus on rebuilding motility. So this is where prokinetics might come into play. Ginger, artichoke, walking, stimulating movement. A body in motion stays in motion. We may pull in some gut brain work, vagus nerve work. All of that really, really matters, because last but not least is that we've got to support your nervous system regulating. Stress shuts down healing, and you cannot heal in the environment that makes you sick. So if you are somebody who has noticed that you just are so stuck in this fight or flight state and you are stressed out all the time, that's going to put a damper on your healing. Or maybe you take 3 steps forward and 5 steps back, right? When stress hits, we've really got to go and evaluate how your nervous system is being regulated. So breath work, boundaries, saying no, sleep, making, a list of your non-negotiables can all be very important here. And so once the terrain is supported, then we can go after the bacteria. And by the way, we're going to address these different types of SIBO with different things. We want to be very strategic here. We want to come in gently and with purpose. Everything we do is with a phased approach, because SIBO is not a one size fits all. What works for hydrogen can make methane worse. So you've really got to understand what's going on in the body and really get a good view in the terrain. And that's why we do stool testing as well, not just SIBO breath test. Another thing that I see a lot of people do incorrectly is jumping to probiotics too fast. So you can flare like crazy here. This is really where we want to be intentional about the use of probiotics. They're very strain specific. So you need a roadmap, a real plan that supports the terrain, supports your bile, stomach acid, motility, thyroid, adrenals, hormones, all of these things before you start going into kill mode. So inside that SIBO blueprint, I walk through a lot of different steps and supplements that we use, from antimicrobials to prokinetics, to rebuild and help you really support your body in the season that you're in now, and then work with a practitioner to get into that kill season so you can resolve this for good. So if you are stuck in that merry-go-round, antibiotics, relapse, it's time to look deeper. It's not just a bacteria or a bug problem, it's a bile problem. It's a terrain problem. And when you restore the terrain, your body does the healing. So grab your SIBO blueprint below. And if you need help on your journey, there's a link to book a call with our team for a 15-minute free consultation. See you next time.